Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah.
Oh, we're both on the spot. I thought it was only me. Okay. This is Thursday night. Welcome to Stupid O'Clock. And we have our usuals with us tonight. And one of our unusuals is not feeling well, so he'll only be here briefly. But, John?
I'm sorry. I'm still mourning the loss of Jerry Springer.
No, Dame Edna.
Oh,
that's been a tearjerker in this house. Dame Edna.
Boy, that'd be a show, wouldn't it? Dame Edna and Jerry Springer.
It would probably wind up being a very high rating. Especially if they tried to do the paternity test stuff.
Yeah,
Carl is asking, is Joe Dog over his band? No, I am. I don't know. I cannot post an event. I can post anything else, everywhere else. I just can't post an event.
And that's just the HallowCon pages?
All of them.
Oh, wow.
That's weird.
Well, the YouTube link went out, which is why I'm able to join the chat without repeating myself a dozen times. So, that week.
And
Yep.
hello to
Yeah, Carl, we lost Dame Edna.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Dame Edna on my birthday, actually.
Oh,
April 22nd.
and there's Zach.
Hey, Zach.
I'll send him an invite.
Hawaii.
We'll send it to your Discord, Zach, I think.
Yeah, I got to find out about the tornado at Kennedy Space Center.
That sounds ominous.
Well, it's a big place. So.
Well, yeah. Still. Well, any tornado anywhere is not a good thing. So
You know, I remember when I was a kid, water spouts, which is basically a tornado over water,
Mhm.
were very common over around Cape Canaveral.
I wonder why that is.
And there was this great picture I remember when I was a kid. It showed the Goodyear blimp heading back to its base, which is down near Miami,
Mm-hmm.
with a water spout in the background as it was flying past Cape Canaveral.
That would be cool. I thought their base was in Ohio.
No, they had a base down in I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was was where they originally got started, I think. One of them was in Dayton, Ohio, and one was in Florida. What they did was they bought a bunch of old U.S. Navy blimp bases from World War II, and one of them was down there off of Miami.
And I
So
think
they'd
I think they've got one they keep out west.
Probably
Wouldn't surprise
Los
me.
Angeles or San Diego. Probably San Diego.
Had one fly over the farm while I was plowing a field once.
Oh yeah, I went outside one day and I just happened to I heard it and I said, "Boy, that Cessna sounds like it's flying really low." I look up, it's a Goodyear blimp going over the house,
Mm-hmm.
and it was hauling, heading south. So I guess it was heading toward Florida or Daytona. I think that was Daytona weekend, so they were probably heading back to Daytona 500.
And
This one would have been headed west at that time.
Well, they aren't little.
No, they ain't. Even when they're way up in the air,
Depends on which one, because they got a couple of big ones and a few small ones, or have had, because they don't last long. They get decommissioned quite regularly.
well, they went right over my head, although they were probably several thousand feet over my head, with the engines off. And it's like, I'm sitting there on the tractor, I'm plowing a hilltop, and there are no very, very high hilltops in this county, let me tell you. And all of a sudden, I'm in a shadow, and I go, well, that's a very regularly shaped cloud. I look up, and it's like I could probably reach up and touch it. No, it's way further up than that. It's just huge. And then they cranked up the engines and started moving. And I'm going,
so if you've got steampunk enthusiasts who aren't the sharpest tools in the shed, does that mean that they ride the short blimp?
Yep.
Would make very much sense, yes. Not to be confused with the short boat to Valhalla, which I still want to see that collection.
Well, I remember when Blue Angels came into town, flying, doing for an air show. And, when the Blue Angels come to town, they just don't fly in. They make an appearance and pretty much take over the airspace of Chattanooga. One of them approached the runway upside down as I was going down Shallerford Road. I'm not going to say that he was right on the ground, but I think he had blue eyes.
Oh, they have air shows in Atlanta at I can't remember the name of the base now. It's one of the larger ones in the Atlanta area. And me and a friend of mine drove all the way from Madison County just to see a bunch of airplanes fly overhead. And the very tail end of the show was an SR-71 dropping down and then kicking in the afterburners.
Oh yeah.
That was fun. I wish I'd remembered to take earplugs.
Don't know. I did not have brown shorts. They were a little moist, but they weren't brown. Hey Zach.
Hello.
Hey, Zach.
You had brown shorts today too?
No, I was telling about when the Blue Angels flew into town. I said, I'm not going to say he was flying real close as he crossed the road upside down, but I think he had blue eyes. So I hear you had a little excitement.
Yeah, it was a fun day. Started off really nice. Did a pad visit. A couple of us went back to the house to recharge. Others stayed out at the press site, and then Florida just decided to be Florida and have its afternoon thunderstorm. But then it decided to cook up a severe thunderstorm, flash flood warning, tornado warning in like 5 minutes. So that was fun.
That just means it was 6 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. So NASA.
Yeah, in Florida they call that Thursday.
Yeah.
No,
So
they call it
NASA
every day, 6 p.m.
Yeah. NASA shut down the base, squished everyone into hallways. We weren't there, but some of our team was there. So I think our last team are almost home now. But yeah, it's been a fun afternoon, but no launch. So, which is a good thing because if they had done propellant loading when they were supposed to, we would have had a 90% fueled rocket that got struck by lightning on the tower of it. So
I'll be right back. Yeah,
That's not a good thing.
yeah, we got nosy again. What?
Muted the microphone just a little bit too slowly there, Joe. Oh, God.
What? No, she brought me her drink thingy. And Zach, I'm sorry I missed last week, but I was out of town and didn't have a good connection. I bet
that's all good.
I was watching, we did watch some of the excitement Thursday morning. We switched over to you for just a second, check, see how Zach's doing. And, we popped,
We're going inside.
It's like, what's this? We need to go inside now? Okay. We're like, oh.
Yeah, it was really, really nice that CNN decided to pick that up and run it nationwide, which then got picked up by all the small local subsidiaries. So my first introduction to mainstream media in the United States is, "Oh, we're going inside." So that was great, but it was the right call. I'm probably going to a doctor tomorrow. There's going to be a lot more that comes out to what has happened in Port Isabel after the first Starship flight than has come out yet. So,
well, Stephanie said the byproducts of burning oxygen and methane is carbon dioxide and water.
Yep.
With all the dust that was in the air, it rained.
we had someone in a house when all that debris fell that is coughing up just as much concrete as I am. And I was outside. I was still coughing stuff up this morning.
Mm.
So there was a lot of it just turned it into dust.
Yeah.
Hey, but at least your van wasn't parked near the launch site.
Yeah, well, we were smart enough not to. We had the chance to, but we chose not to.
Oh dear. Believe one of my Facebook friends has been hacked. I just got a link to a video with no explanation from him, and he usually does not talk to me on a regular basis. So,
Yeah, just
anybody
Don't
that
say-
knows Norman, tell him change his password.
it's too late. They've already changed it for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rechange it.
they go in, change your password, your phone number, everything.
Yeah, but they also have to be smart enough to go through and say and hit the log out of all other locations.
Yeah, they're not normally that smart.
I don't know. He's a science fiction writer. He might be.
No,
No,
the
I
hack-
mean the hacker.
Oh, the hacker. Well, we'll see. I'm just putting it on ignore.
Yeah. So you're saying that there may be some lawsuits?
Who was that remark addressed to?
Zach?
Oh, okay.
wait and see.
Oh, wonderful.
I have to be careful with my wording.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching some of the videos and I'm seeing things the size of tractor trailers thrown into the air.
Yeah, there are holes where I was standing 12 hours earlier that I could crawl into with 5 other people. There are some very large divots in the ground that do not have whatever made them in them. So things were bouncing and skipping.
Did you see the dents in the tank farm?
Oh yeah, that tank farm is done. Which also I think fits to what Elon had said the Sunday before the first launch attempt, which was, yeah, doing a vertical tank farm built by ourselves was kind of stupid. We should have just bought those horizontal tanks that could have just been delivered. So
it's all got to
Zach,
be
when you were talking about divots, I thought you were maybe talking about golf or something. I'm like, what the
well, I
heck?
mean, it was almost a hole in one.
It was a
It's
very
in the
big
hole,
hole
it's
in
in the
one. But there was a lot of little other holes around that were in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 million or.
Well, also it looks like they detonated the flight termination system, but it didn't pop it immediately.
Yeah, it's really weird. They're kind of lucky but unlucky that it was a really hazy day. So there's very little footage that's not there. All the footage is from the same angle, from just different people's cameras. So they don't have I mean, obviously they have the live telemetry. They'll know what was happening on board with the live cameras on board. But the latest analyzing of it is that the booster's engine first tank area at the bottom failed, sent pressure or an explosion up, burst the top tank of the booster. The FTS on the ship was sent, and it just all crumbled, twisted. It did not end well. It did at least 7 flips from some people's guess.
I noticed that, and I go, after the first pinwheel, I don't think this is going according to plan anymore.
Well, the biggest issue is they have their marine exclusion zone, and then they
Mhm.
have their warning zone. The FTS was sent when it was on the border of the exclusion zone going into the warning zone. It had deviated quite a bit off course to the north as well. So it wasn't just spinning, it was turning.
And Stephanie said she was impressed that something taking that many G's and not breaking up.
Especially when you think of how thin it is.
Yeah.
It was a good showing for the vehicle. There's a lot they're gonna learn.
Oh yeah, I mean it got way off the pad. Even though I did notice there were some engines that did not fire, as you could see the bottom of it when it was going up. I couldn't count how many there were because I don't know exactly how many, but it looked like 3 to 5.
Sure. 6 for sure.
6 for sure.
Possibly up to 8 by the time of FTS.
I think when I started counting them, I counted 7. So I was
Yeah.
probably right in that.
There were some that were hot firing, so they would fire and then they'd stop and then they'd fire. So it's hit and miss, but nothing. SpaceX officially had 6 listed on their overlay as out.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing that much mass got that far off the ground with 6 or 8 engines out.
That's the big question: is why did they attempt launch? Because it looks like 3 were out before it even lifted off the pad, which is already a fail to orbit. So
I think they just wanted
I shouldn't say
a bit
that.
of it.
Yeah.
See, it's easier to dump it in the ocean than it is to pull it all back down again.
So,
Yeah.
so I messaged you all on the stupid o'clock thing last night. I don't know if any of you get the Newsy channel, NEWSY. Anyway, they were doing a really neat, about an hour-long documentary about the Apollo program and everything that they were going through back in the day. And the one thing that right before the Apollo 11 launch, what was the last unmanned launch before that? Because I'm old and I can't remember.
I think John was right. 8.
8 went around with people. 8 went around.
Yeah, 8 was the first one with people that actually went to the moon.
I think it was 6 or 7.
Okay. So apparently this one cleared the gantry. They were very impressed. They said it took over 1 billion tons of thrust power to get up past to clear that. But as much as you might kind of think that is, I guess the rest of the, not the descent, the ascent, I guess, going up, they said was so slow that several times that they didn't know if it was actually moving or not because it was just moving so slow. But everything went well. Anyway, they repeat this special often. They did it again today, but and I had the name of it, and I think I might have put it in the messenger link last night. I watched it really, really late. But there's a lot of people that they interviewed on there that are no longer around, and it's worth watching anyway. So
yeah. It's kind of wild when you think about it. There are a few of us in this room that were old enough to see all of it the first time.
Apollo 7 was the first crewed flight, by the way.
7 was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they just went up Earth orbit and did all the rendezvous and connecting to the module and all that.
Yeah, Apollo 6 was the second test launch. And it had everything. It had the launch escape system, had the fake capsule, and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean something that we're not going to do with SLS?
Yeah. Zach, did you notice that that Starship did a Astra takeoff?
Oh, you know I did with my own naked eyes. I was almost on the ground. You in one of our videos that we were filming, you can literally hear Dakota yelling, "It's going," and I'm like, "But it's not moving," because it did not clear the smoke for a very long time. And in the countdown SpaceX had given us, ignition was at T-8 seconds. Liftoff was at T0. Well, ignition happened at 0. And then it started moving at about 7.5 seconds.
Yeah, it sat there for a bit. I was like,
so we were waiting and we're counting and we're like, it should be. Why is it not ignite? It's not doing anything, and then now it is. But we were very scared.
That picture you're seeing, that is the Apollo 6 test object for the lunar module.
Yeah.
So basically, they built a fake lunar module just for the weight.
Yeah.
As you do.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we'll see. They think 2 months, and they'll SpaceX Elon 2 months that they say they'll be ready for another test. So
yeah, they've told NASA we'll launch again in 2 months, and Bill Nelson goes, okay. It's going to take 2 months to tear the shit out that they tore up.
No kidding.
well, unless they activate Surge, which it wouldn't be the first time they've done it. I mean, they could activate Surge down there, book out all of Brownsville, and move everybody that they have in SpaceX down and do triple shifts. They've done it before, but I think 2 months is pushing it because you still have a whole new vehicle to test because Booster 9 is an entirely legally new vehicle compared to Booster 7. It's gone through too many changes that they're not technically related.
And that's alongside the pad reconstruction, isn't it?
So from what we've heard, the pad is fine. The issue is the ground that was removed from under the pad.
Because there's no bedrock out there.
Yeah, but the pad
they built
supposedly
their house
stood.
upon the sand.
Yeah,
That's
legitimately.
Well, hey,
It was sand underneath.
And concrete. And concrete was a special mixture of concrete and metal and rebar. And they thought it was going to just get eroded at and, eaten up a little bit. No, it got full on nuclear blasted and powdered the entire concrete rebar structure. The rebar is still there. So the entire structure is there. All the rebar is there, but the concrete's missing.
yeah.
I'm wondering.
It's going to save them money on digging flame trench.
Some people have been looking into it. They legally might not be allowed to because of the water level, the water table.
The other thing I was wondering about, I used to take welding. And one of the first things they teach you about welding safety is never weld or cut metal on concrete. Because the heat from the welding or the blowtorch will turn the water in the concrete into sand or into steam.
And pop
the
it
concrete will
out.
explode. There'll be a steam explosion.
Mm-hmm. My daddy warned me about that very thing
Cool.
when he was teaching me to weld.
And what I'm wondering is, if you put in all that concrete in the wet sand right next to the Gulf of Mexico in South Texas, that concrete is never going to dry out. Okay.
Nope.
Never.
It'll
Well,
take-
until you hit it with 33 rocket engines.
yeah, that dried it out real quick. Talk about a
Yeah.
blow dryer.
I wonder how many engines would have stayed lit if they hadn't been blasted with boulder-sized chunks of concrete.
Well, it doesn't look like any of the bells failed, at least from the first analysis. It looks like 3 didn't ignite at liftoff, that can happen. And then it looks like other ones failed mid-flight, which could be a random mix of absolutely any reasons, which could be debris cutting cabling or hosing. But
I wonder if Roman concrete would have survived that.
No.
No, same problem. It had
Yeah.
water in it.
Oh, they have figured out how Roman concrete works now. It's calcium and seawater.
Yep.
Salt water. What happens when the water gets down into it, it reactivates the salt, which does something to the calcium. It was seashells, which started to foam and bubble, and it reactivated the concrete.
Basically, a
Oh.
self-healing,
Yeah,
Yeah, I
self-healing.
was just about to say that. Yeah.
which they had worked on. They actually did something with that, with like a living fungus inside of the concrete, also, if I remember correctly, a few years back.
But it ate the
that-
concrete.
them
But the
damn
politicians wouldn't stay down long enough for the concrete to dry.
So I'm thinking, okay, if Elon Musk wants to earn some money, I never thought I'd say that. Stick
Really?
some
I thought he just
coal.
wants to spend.
Stick some coal underneath the pad, and then when they barbecue the pad, maybe they'll make some diamonds or something on there that they can use to fund the next project.
Hey, right now, all somebody's got to do is head out through the field with a wheelbarrow and pick up chunks of concrete about this big into the wheelbarrow, then load it into the back of a pickup truck and eBay the hell out of that stuff.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
eBay's already full of
Hey,
it.
wait a minute. Why do we have to go
I
to
have a
Texas?
box I can put it in.
Why do we have to go to Texas to get concrete? We'd go right down here to Vulcan, where they're
'Cause you want
breaking up
the special-
sidewalks and stuff like that. Hit it with a blowtorch real quick and tell everybody it was Elon Musk concrete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
know there will be people that are doing that.
I
Now,
went to see the Starship launch, and all I got was this lousy chunk of concrete.
Yeah, I was trying to find this. That's what's left.
yeah, that rebar that you can see in the middle. Hold on, let me pull you up full screen, Zach. Where you at? There we go. That rebar you see in the middle was under 4 feet of concrete.
Oh my
Backroom
God.
concrete.
And underground.
And underground.
Well, I got news for you guys. That ground ain't there no more.
Yeah.
Oh, I just realized something. You can actually see where the flame of the engine cut the hole through the concrete.
Yep.
You can see each of the engine bell holes where it
Mm-hmm.
looked like somebody took a giant hole punch and just punched it out.
Now remember, kids, they are professionals. Don't try this at home.
Yeah.
But
Or if you know of a way not to do it, call Elon.
well,
It looks
if-
like the U2 dropped the bomb there. That's what that
if
looks
they,
like.
well, Zach, if they do build a flame trench, they now know which direction to point it
True.
and
Away
have
from
the work's
Texas.
done.
Yeah. I'm really surprised that he has not built the offshore launch facility yet. Imagine they're giving it a lot of thought this week.
There's questions on now if they will be forced to permanently.
to go offshore for the launches?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, it's either that or after this one, there will likely be orders of South Padre Island and Port Isabel completely. So the question is, what are they going to do? Because we're now a week and I'm still sick from it. So, and we ran inside. Most people didn't.
Yeah, most people were stuck outside.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, all of SpaceX's media and VIPs were on South Padre Island, which did not get hit by the cloud. The cloud only hit Port Isabel, which is the other side of the causeway, and a little bit of Laguna Heights. It was a very narrow corridor where this cloud traveled, which is why most media don't have pictures of it falling or of the outcomes, because it's a gated community for half of it, and then it's like some big stores. And it only was a couple of minutes, but it was, I'll see if I have the picture of the debris that landed.
Oh, did you see the picture? Somebody ended up in their yard.
ended up in their yard from where?
Did they walk outside?
It was laying in their yard after the launch.
What?
Oh,
It was huge chunk of metal, and it was burnt.
I question if that's real, because there hasn't been any other reports of debris flying 5 miles, and I've been talking to a couple universities because they've been asking for samples of our debris, because right now there's no physics studies that understands how this sand traveled 6 miles. Like it's literally breaking NASA's policy on gravity and dust travel from an explosion. So
well, there you come into the one born every minute effect.
yeah, so that was what landed on us. To give you an idea of size of chunks.
Did
That
y'all
was the-
save that?
Why does that remind me of that scene from the Andromeda strain where they found the little chunks of meteorite on the scoop?
Because it's the regular pattern there, and in the movie, it was
Let me see.
the woven collection basket inside, which also had a regular pattern.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a psychologist. No, I'm not.
No,
Carl is.
Zach didn't drop out. He muted Mike and went off camera.
Must have been a phone call. Look,
All right.
there he is. Ah,
Went after the samples.
That's from a 6 foot by 6 foot area.
And y'all swept it up and saved it.
Yep. And are going certain places next week for stuff. Don't worry, we haven't opened it since. I probably coughed up that much though in the last week. But
yeah.
I'm sort of glad I didn't go.
We used to get those
What-
sand. When I was stationed in Iraq, we used to get those sandstorms. I mean, for like 2 weeks afterwards, they were like,
yep.
Mm.
The thing that threw us from it is I was outside with Ian, and obviously everyone's seen the video of us running inside. Dakota was already inside because we had him go switch some of our cameras because it had launched. He was inside, doors are all closed. We run in, all the windows are closed the whole time. We wait 5-6 minutes before we go back out. It stopped falling for about 5 minutes. He's got just as much stuff in his lungs as the two of us that were outside. So though there's bigger chunks of it, the question is, did anyone, and I doubt anyone's got one, is there an air sampling of all the stuff that you couldn't see? And a lot of people have pulled the FAA paperwork and the environmental review prior to this first flight, and there was no mention of any risk of particles per million being put into the air greater than 700 feet from the pad. So we're now talking thousands of feet further, and we're having quite high particles per million showing up. And we might not ever know what the true air reading was.
Well,
I would be shocked if the EPA didn't have some kind of sensor.
yeah, there's
In that
gotta
area.
because I'm trying to think who does it. They put those air samplers all over the place for picking up pollen and every other damn thing.
We'll see if it can detect it, but
Well, not only that, but like with doing the road construction, which is what I do. When we have a contractor out there painting bridges, they have to file something with the EPA for when they're sandblasting the old paint off. So, and that's, I mean, granted, I'm in Lake County, Indiana, and we've got the steel mills and all that fun stuff here, but so I know the EPA has sensors around us. I would think they would definitely have sensors in those areas.
I'm sure they brought some in for the launch. I guess my hope is that they just they were in this very narrow area that got hit far enough out, because I feel like in all the reporting, they only talked about the very close impact of a launch. There was very little talk about there was talk about vibration and pressure waves hitting Port Isabel and South Padre, but I don't remember anyone really ever talking about the thought of debris or anything like that. And I mean, really, until the Sunday night before the Monday attempt, no one in SpaceX, including Elon, had referenced the scale of this compared to the N1. And then all of Sunday night, he was like, we're just happy if it gets a foot off the ground and clears the tower is a win. And he's like, remember N1, how it went. We're basically doing the same thing. And that was his whole talk. Was like, if we clear the tower, we're more than happy. But remember what happened with N1. And we're all like, don't keep mentioning N1. It killed 200 people within 8 miles.
That's like saying we're building a blimp, but don't forget what happened to the Hindenburg. You know.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we'll see if they get another attempt this year. Having been out at 39A today and seeing the tower here, it hasn't changed since I was out here with Artemis.
Now-
it's strapped down and sitting, and it'll be a year or two at least until we see any activity here. So,
Now,
Well,
Zach-
don't be a bit surprised if there are additional dust sampling sites scattered all around now that they know that this is the scale you're working at. You thought you were a little bit below this, but this is, now you have proof.
well, I think the biggest concern, the way we've approached from it, is like not even necessarily the environmental side of it, but it's like even just thinking of the type of population that lives there. It is probably 80% seniors, which most of them don't know this was even happening. So they're going to go outside and not know what this dust is and how to respond to it. Like, we talked to people the day before the launch who have a deck that views the place and have seen it been built for the last 4 years and did not know it was a rocket ship that was going to launch. And we're like, sell us your property, please. Because,
Really? That's
Now-
a special form of complacency that I have yet to run into, but
all
Zach?
over down there. You wouldn't believe it. All
What?
over. Walmart, everywhere. No one knew this was happening.
Zach, I do have a theory of the mystery tower now.
You mean the third tower that's just sitting in the parking lot?
Yeah. What if it had blown up on the pad? There's your replacement tower.
Well, why would they build it here and not build it in Texas? They had to truck it there.
Well, floated on a barge, but
Yeah, they seem like doing that these days. So I mean, yeah.
I mean,
it's
how
a
long?
possibility.
How long would it take to get them loaded up and on a barge?
I mean, if you had a barge ready, a day or two, but you'd probably need like 4 or 5 barges
Which
or more.
which would be nothing for. Hey, you got 2 landing pads that you could fit 1 or 2 on.
Here's my conspiracy theory. He blew up the pad in Texas on purpose so that they could build new launch sites out at Cape Canaveral.
So they could get the insurance policy. Well, NASA's told them you're not touching anything here. And that went from you're not touching anything here until you know how to fly it to you're not touching anything here until you've flown at least 5 successfully. So they're after seeing this flight, they're not risking 39A. And I mean, even SpaceX is now looking at a secondary pad for Falcon Heavy out of California, which they're moving crew and cargo off 39A to 40 for here in Florida. So they have a backup there, which means we can still get to the ISS. 39. The only other thing at 39A that we can't do anywhere else is Falcon Heavy. Well, they just got permission to do the lease in California to retrofit Delta IV Heavy's pad. Falcon Heavy, that won't take them probably more than a year. So if they have another Falcon Heavy pad that can get most of their missions, if not all, even if they have to do weird dogleg maneuvers or something, it seems like SpaceX is willing to risk 39A more and more, but we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of questions on safety brought in between Starship, brought in even just between today with the tornado thing. Like, they didn't scrub this until we were in the launch window. And I was like, there's literally a tornado overhead. Like, this was not clearing anytime soon. People were coming to watch this. Media were being bussed on property and having to shelter in hallways. It wasn't NASA stepped in and did their safety stuff, which is awesome. But
had they started fueling, or were they
Not
holding the weather?
yeah, they hadn't fueled yet.
Just as a point of curiosity, as a former architecture student back in the 70s, I mean, I would love to see even the concept designs, if not actual blueprints, for this proposed offshore launch facility. That just strikes me as being something right out of Jerry Anderson. I'd love to see drawings of that.
I think
Yeah,
so.
I mean, what little that I would understand, but it would be not. It would be fun for me.
It was an oil rig. Basically, the plan was an oil rig.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Zach,
Well, they bought 2 oil rigs.
Right.
Those were supposed to be retrofitted. They gutted them down, tore down the whole towers into big flat decks, and basically parked them. And then they actually just sold them about a month or 2 ago. What's come out is they took the mechanical winch system for the tower, the actual drill, and that is what powers the chopsticks at the tower in Texas and the tower here in Florida. And it was cheaper for them to buy the used oil derricks, gut them, take those out, move them to Florida and Texas, and reinstall them than it would have been to buy them new.
So they didn't get the oil derricks as offshore launch facilities. They bought them so they could scrap the winches and other gizmos.
They were parts cars.
Yeah.
Basically. And
now they might have been able to use them as offshore launch platforms. That was one of the considerations. But ultimately what we saw them done with, they were parts cars.
They got them from Johnny Cash.
Now, wasn't the chopsticks built from some of that oil rig?
Yeah, that's what he just said.
I'm not sure if the chopsticks themselves were.
The winches were.
The winch, yeah, all the winch stuff was, which I don't even. We know the chopsticks in Texas can still move. They finally moved after like a week, yesterday or day before. But
And
the
ladies, he means a different kind of winch. Don't get insulted.
The house structure around it is Swiss cheese. Like, it got blasted by pieces of concrete. So they're going to have to inspect that entire cable.
Well, you heard what happened the morning of launch, didn't you, to the elevator in the tower?
Oh, yeah, a couple days. Well, it was like 2 a.m. and the dumbwaiter broke and fell the length of the tower.
The counter.
Yeah,
the counterweight.
The counterweight.
Yeah, and it left one man alone up at the top of the tower.
I believe I'll be trying the ladder. It might take me a week, but I'll be trying the ladder.
He laddered about a third of the way down, and then they got one of the big cherry pickers and went up 2/3 of the way and got him. But for the next 2 days before the second launch attempt, if they wanted anyone on the tower, everyone was being man-lifted up and down because they still haven't, and the elevator will probably take a couple weeks to fix. So
I've been in cherry pickers before, and the amount of sway that they have in the wind is enough to give you motion sickness.
Oh, and then you don't stand there watching.
Imagine going 300 feet up with one of those.
I believe about 100 is the highest I've ever been, and I left dents in the safety rails around the bucket. I was gripping so hard. I mean, it's nope. Oh, and I like roller coasters, so it kind of surprised me that I had this this reaction to being blown around in the wind on top of this teeny tiny thin stalk of steel.
Well,
yeah, they were parking them right here at the bottom and lifting them all the way up to just above where it goes from gray to black.
Okay.
So about 23 stories.
I definitely have to be wearing Grampers before I was allowed to do that.
Yeah. And they have to stick it way out away because of it's like 2 big things. So they're 15 stories in the air, 15 stories from the thing. At one point, it's like, nope.
Thing sways more than a hula dancer.
Oh, you said Grampers. That reminded me of something I tried to sell to Huggies and Depends. Huggies and Depends are pretty much the same thing.
Just different sizes.
Right.
They could combine the two in an advertising. You got Grandpa and the kid, and the jingle could be, "I'm a big kid. Look what I can do. I can go in my grandpa pants like Grandpa does too."
I don't think they would have bought that one, Joe. But I'm not a bit surprised that you came up with it. Oh. Hello, Ryan.
Hi. Hello. I was wondering when the senior citizens were going to engage me on this set. What's going on, guys? Good to see you. You all look
great.
great.
You had the slightest idea of what you were getting into when you clicked the join button.
I know. I have no idea what I'm getting into. Zach's going over this giant story, and I'm thinking to myself, I think I got it, but just in case, tell me that whole thing again. I wasn't listening. But that's because I arrived late. But it's no.
You have 6 hours.
It's no offense to you, Zach. Rich, good to see you. I'm not sure if this was this week or last week, but happy 21st. Congratulations. Fantastic. Very proud of you. Yeah, I just came from doing a show on my own network. It was a lot of fun. Hence the reason I'm wearing my Snowpaw shirt. Talking about LoneWolfComics.com with Rob Multeri. Great guy, great independent writer. Yeah. So I finished that up, and I thought I'd just come by and say hello. So I didn't know we were going to have a overly full house. Good Lord Almighty. All we need now is Alice.
But basically, it's welcome to Armchair Rocket Science Night. So,
Hey, Zach.
I had no idea.
Zach, the new guy, Ryan.
Yes.
You haven't seen the announcement of the new HallowCon guest is?
No, I haven't. Who is the next guest? Do we know who's going to be the next contestant on The Price is Right at HallowCon? Who is it?
Brian Silverbacks.
Oh. I have no idea who that is, but that sounds wonderful. That's great.
Great. Just one of the... He's a comic book artist.
Comic book sounds good. I speak that a little bit. Not as well as some of our esteemed, distinguished gentlemen here on the set, but okay. So what has he worked on in the past? Can you give me a quick 30-second bio?
Give me just a second to get it.
Let me pull up the Google Doc. Yeah. By the way, John, what's your background? I can't tell what that is. Is that a ship or a basket?
Neither. Let me do this.
Is it a basket?
Catapult.
Oh, it's a catapult. I'm sorry. It looked like a basket.
It is an Acme catapult.
Yeah, made by Acme.
Oh, Acme. I'm sorry. It's a catapult featuring Wile E. Coyote. Okay, I got it. Hey, the dawn just walked in. Does that mean the dawn comes before the dusk?
Is it 15 minutes to the end of the show? Wait a minute.
An hour and 10 minutes.
Dawn of the Dewless.
Dawn of the dead? No, I'm kidding. Hi, Dawn. Dawn of the alive.
All right. Here's his bio.
Yes.
Brian Silverback, artist whose work can be seen on the covers of comic book as well as in films and NFTs. Brian has worked on The Recount, Scout Comics, Maniac of New York, Aftershock, Department of Truth, Image Comics, and many more. He's worked with many wrestlers to create T-shirts, designs, and comics, including Dan Housen, Scott Hall, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The Texas Rattlesnake. Okay. That's in the words of our good friend. Well, in the words of our good friend Lord Vader, that's impressive. Most impressive. That's good. Sounds real good. I've never heard of this individual, but if I come to HallowCon this year, which I hope to, I don't know, that would be nice to meet him. It'd be nice to say hello and talk a few things with him.
Well, you better get your membership before the price goes up.
I probably should. Yeah.
Yeah.
When does the price go up, Joe?
Yeah. Can you give us details on that?
October 1st, it goes to $70.
Ooh, that's
Damn recession.
I better get them now. How much are they going for these days?
45,
Ooh, that's a nice round number. I can dig that.
and your rooms are 73.
Okay.
But
Sounds about right.
And the place is nice. I really enjoy it. It is not pretentious at all, and the staff will bend over backwards to help you with whatever problem you may have.
Sounds good.
They're ambidextrous.
What did Amber do?
No, nothing.
So she did something with Dexter.
some guy
but I
named
can't remember. I'm not at liberty to say.
We just know that there's an alert about it.
What was it again? Oh yeah, Bill, one of your celebrity crushes that's on your big wall of fame back there. Karen Gillan is going to be at HallowCon in our nation's capital of DC. If you want to say hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
When's that at?
It's in June. June to be what comes after the 2nd, the 9th, and then what's the week after that? The 16th, 16th through the 18th. Yeah.
48th or 49th, one of the two.
June 16th through the 18th is the specific date, in case anyone's wondering. That HallowCon is in our nation's capital of DC.
I gotta show you one of my other crushes that I got a little something. Naomi Bristow.
Yes.
Not a lot of people know, but she's my little Canadian cowgirl friend. She has been in the country music scene since she was 10 years old. She's in her 20s. She used to be on Shotgun Red's TV show on RFD TV. She sung with the likes of Vince Gill, Whispering Bill Anderson, my cousin Alison Krauss, and down the line, so many more people. But anyway, she sent this to me the other day, or couple weeks ago, and now that I've ripped it off the wall, I don't know. Get back on there.
Boy.
But anyway,
Want to take some blue tack?
Well, get out the duct tape.
Wow, man, your wall of fame continues to grow, man. That's awesome. Good for you.
And I did. I put the
I have
the
often said
monkeys
to
drum
Bill,
head.
just tell us who isn't on your friends list. It'll take less time.
Yeah, that's true. That's a valid point.
I think it's Rich, but I'm not sure.
Is it Rich?
But
No, it's
my monkey's drum head that I showed off last week. I ended up mounting that above the bed, and because all the other monkeys stuff and my Mike Nesmith and all that was on there. No, Rich, you're
By the way,
using...
Carl asks you a question in the chat. He says, "Bill has a girlfriend in Canada." Is that true?
Well, there's a lot of things happening in Canada.
Oh, Canada. Yeah. Some of the biggest stars in the universe come from Canada.
Well,
I mean, I grew up watching Howie Mandel, and he's from Canada. I mean, I grew up watching pro wrestling, right? So Trish Stratus, the WWE Hall of Famer, she's from Canada, of course, in Toronto. Edge, Adam Copeland's from Canada.
The Hart Foundation.
Yes, the Hart yes, Dawn. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Bret the Hitman Hart and his family. Yes. Yeah, Natty, his niece is a big wrestler now. Natalia is a good friend. She's still wrestling, I believe. I don't think she's.
I am so out of the loop.
Bob and Doug McKenzie too, so.
Oh, Bob and Doug McKenzie, right?
You hoser.
I'm gonna have to tap.
All right, Joe. It was good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Joe, you made it an hour. We're impressed. You did not feel good when we were getting ready to come on the show.
I heard you weren't coming to school today, but apparently you overruled and you came in.
Yeah. Well,
you were waiting for me, weren't you, Joe? You were hoping that I was going to come in earlier than normal just so you could say hi to me.
It's all Dawn's fault. No, I'm kidding. It's not.
No.
He got a note from Juan Epstein's mother.
Got a note from Dawn.
Let's just say this is no longer in my body.
Okay. Well, we wish you the best, Joe, and please get well soon, my guy.
Yeah.
Go rehydrate.
Go rehydrate yourself.
Yeah. Actions contrary to swallowing is what I'm going to say.
Okay, that could be taken a couple of different ways, but the hashtag not the green room, Rich.
Rich.
Yeah.
We need you, Rich.
Bye, Joe. We love you, man.
He's got it. He's got it close at hand.
Good night, Joe.
There's the Rich hashtag, not the green room, guys. Not the green room. By the way, John, is it just me or is your face getting
Not
red?
the red green room.
I feel like John's face is getting red.
No,
Or is it his lighting?
It's his lighting. He has.
to make the
He
green,
hasn't invested in a blue filter for the lights yet.
Okay, because you look very red this evening.
to make the light, to make the green screen work in my room. I put lights up.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
The only spare light bulbs I had at the time were grow lights,
Oh, okay.
and they're like full spectrum. So for some reason, I look like a Cherokee Indian.
I didn't mean to disrespect you. I was just like, I'm looking at everybody on set, and I'm like, all right, everyone looks cool, but John seems red.
Bill resembles that remark.
Really?
it
Does he?
Hey, this scared the hell out of my mom. She thought I had blood poisoning.
Really? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect you.
Looks like you got rosacea. However you pronounce that, I don't know.
You know, two things came to my mind. You know, you guys were talking about a gentleman by the name of Jerry earlier. Did anyone hear the news about Jerry Springer passing away?
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Springer died, and also our one and only Princess Leia herself is getting a posthumous star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
They're
On
finally giving her a star.
On May the 4th be with you. Is anyone excited for that? Because Lord knows we are. We're going to be celebrating Star Wars with a live stream at Nerd Culture Channel, and I think all of you should tune in. I think you're going to like the way you look after watching that.
It's
that people
allegedly her star is going to be a few feet away from Mark Hamill's star, and right across the street from her mom, Debbie Reynolds. So
that's amazing.
Pretty good.
By the way, it's funny how all these big name stars are getting stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame like 40 years after they retire. It's like, dude, Carrie Fisher should have gotten one 40 years ago.
No kidding.
In my opinion.
Well, a lot of folks should have.
You know, I don't know why she should have gotten one earlier, but she's getting one now.
And
which is great. And they're doing it
the
on
Monkees are still not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there's only one left. Or they were going to wait until Mickey dies and say, "Hey, we inducted him now."
They're going to induct everyone else posthumously. Okay.
Apparently, well,
I don't know why you would do that, but at least Carrie Fisher's getting her star next week. Which, by the way, Carrie Fisher, congratulations. But yeah, we're going to be doing a Star Wars Day celebration. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're excited. Anyone else excited for Star Wars Day next week? I am. I'm excited.
I'll be
Not
back
really.
at
Dan's
work.
like, I'm more excited to watch the Christmas special.
Actually, no, I've never
I've heard
seen
that that's coming back.
Oh, is it coming on Disney Plus on May the 4th?
Apparently.
Oh, wow. I know what John's doing on Thursday night.
No, you don't.
Yeah, he does. He's going to be tuning in for our show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at Nerd Culture Channel, hashtag shameless self-promotion. And then after that, he's going to watch the holiday special with Dawn. There you go. That's what's going to happen.
Would it?
No, Dawn's like,
the
no,
Old
there is no
Republic
holiday.
right now. So I mean, I don't know. I've never heard of Star Wars.
You never heard of Star Wars? Wow. Okay. Well, you may learn more so about it.
No, you missed the first part of that. I'm playing the Old Republic right now as I'm talking to you guys.
Oh, I apologize. I so apologize for that, Don. Yes, that's fantastic. I used to play Star Wars. What was it? It was called Republic Commando. Yes, that was it. It was on Xbox way back when. And I'm still in the middle of reading
the stuff like I always do.
Oh, and I'm still in the middle of reading Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, which is a great book, by the way. That's a great book. I'm only, 15, 16 chapters into it, but it is fantastic. I'm loving it. So, yeah.
Don't
worry, Dan. I'll get to the Han Solo trilogy one of these days.
I think you'll enjoy it. No, as a fan of flight simulators, I really like the old classic PC Star Wars X-Wing game and the TIE Fighter game.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck getting them to run on a modern computer, but back in the day when they were Yugos instead of Pentiums, it was a lot of fun. Should have bought one of those cheat books where I got to figure out what the code for God mode was, so I would quit dying every time I got within 5 feet of another ship.
Really?
I was a stunt pilot. Let me
You
tell
were
you.
a stunt. You know, it's funny you mentioned X-Wings. I have the first 3 books of that X-Wing series by Michael Stackpole here on my shelf, which I look forward to reading at some point. By the way, I'm just curious, though. I think we went over this before, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Don, since you showed us some of your characters that you play in these Star Wars games, what's your favorite Star Wars movie that's not Empire Strikes Back? What's your favorite TV series that's not Clone Wars? And what's your favorite Star Wars novel? Do you have one?
I don't have a favorite novel. Sorry, I got to go with Return of the Jedi for my favorite movie. The series right now, I'm kind of... I don't know, because I liked Rebels.
Rebels is
And
good.
we just finished Mando. I couldn't get into Andor. Ted's been trying. My boyfriend he's watched the second season of Bad Batch. He says I would like it, but Omega drove me nuts the first season, so I've had trouble watching. Not too. Oh, she was a little snot. I wanted to smack her.
Really? Okay. Well, that's cool that you bring up Return of the Jedi, because starting next month, and we're not going to do it on Star Wars Day because that's not the actual release date, but at the end of May, we are going to be doing a 40th anniversary watch-along of Return of the Jedi. So that's going to be a lot of fun, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. And by the way, just to let everyone know, we're not watching the Disney Plus version. We're watching the OG theatrical version that you may have on VHS or a DVD that you swiped from a Comic-Con, which is called the despecialized editions, if I remember correctly. So if you have your copy of that, join us on May the 25th, which is, I believe, is a Thursday, at 8 p.m. EST, because we're going to be watching the OG version of Return of the Jedi in celebration of its 40th birthday. So that's exciting too, Dan. We got a lot of great stuff coming your way.
I call it the decriminalized version.
Well, they call it the despecialized version in Comic-Con circles, so there you go.
Well, I actually have the original issue, and then the
special editions,
the tempered editions, yes, and
97,
and somewhere or another, I think there are the DVDs as well. I hope I have a working VHS player somewhere in the house.
Well, then you can join us.
We were just talking about that, aren't we?
They sell them brand new still.
For the 40th anniversary, you can join us for that.
I've got to go ahead. Well, I have an early bedtime.
We're going to be doing it at 8 p.m. EST, dude. Granted, it's going to be on a Thursday, so technically it is during the whole, stupid o'clock.
No, but Ryan, we're a bunch of old guys. We got to go to bed early.
No, not really, because you do a show.
Really?
Yeah, look at Rich. He's got his cane out because he's so old. No offense, Rich.
We can't stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning talking off camera anymore.
I've actually stood on my front lawn shaking that thing, yelling at little kids to get off my lawn. So, I mean...
Well, Rich, I hope you don't do that when you're watching the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi with us.
That wasn't Rich's cane. That was his elbow sticking out, protruding out from the skin on his arm.
Is that what it was? Because I couldn't tell from this angle.
No, my arm is way too fat.
I was trying to give you a compliment.
Well, it's funny, though, because next week, in the first week of May, not only does Star Wars turn X amount of years old on May the 4th be with you, but the first Iron Man turns 15 next week, and X-Men 2 turns 20 next week.
Oh, Lord, I remember seeing that in the theater. That was about the time I decided that I was not going to go back to movie theaters unless it was something really, really special anymore.
I think the first Iron Man...
That qualified as being really special. But,
the first Iron Man started what we know today as the MCU. So
well,
next week you should.
Sorry, Iron Man, and I go. Dun,
which is
dun, dun,
same here, Don. It's the first thing I think of is the Black Sabbath.
I have every Black Sabbath album in there in the living room. I can well agree.
So I guess you're going to be playing that while you're watching Iron Man with us next week.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. Well, we hope to see every single one of you fine-looking people in the comment section of those streams next week. Hope to see you there.
Guess I'm not invited then.
You can be. We can have it in the chat. I already got my panelists for. Well, no, I don't have my panelists yet but anyway, that's neither here nor there. We just hope to see you there in the chat and sharing your favorite memories of Return of the Jedi with us at the end of May next month. We're just looking forward to that.
So, Ryan, I have a question to ask you, but before I do, I just want to let everybody know that I posted all 3 Star Wars radio dramas in the
Yes.
Stupid O'Clock Facebook group.
I saw that.
So I did A New Hope the other day, and I got into a conversation with Nick Talkert about it, and he started talking about Return of the Jedi. So I had to look that one up, and I figured, well, might as well find Empire Strikes Back and put that in. So there's YouTube radio dramas of all three of them now that are really, and I remember hearing the first one on one of our local stations back in 1978 when the heyday was going on. But you mentioned the MCU,
Yes.
and now with the second and I believe final Flash trailer for the Flash that came out, what was it, yesterday or the day before, one of the two? Yeah. I mean, do you think that the MCU is getting bitch slapped by DC with this movie?
Wow, that is a great question. Well, here, first of all, let me preface this by saying I've seen the first trailer for this upcoming Flashpoint movie, because let's call it what it is. It is Flashpoint.
Yeah,
it's literally based off the
Flashpoint.
Jeff Johns comic book known as Flash, which, by the way, that's one of my all-time favorite graphic novels, period. But door number two is I have not seen the secondary trailer for this movie because I want to go in not knowing too much about this film, because the first trailer is almost 3 minutes long. That's enough. That is plenty. And plus, we get Keaton coming back after 30 years of being away from the cow. He drops the magic lines, "I'm Batman." And I heard he dropped some other lines in this new trailer, but I don't want to hear it. Oh, hello there. Hello there, Michaela.
Yeah.
Hello there. Come here, my little friend. Don't be afraid. Don't worry.
I'm glad that you said you didn't want to hear it, because I was just about to say it.
No, I don't want to know. I know he dropped the
assuming
lines.
that you saw the second trailer. So
I didn't. I
yeah.
didn't. I just heard someone say that he mentioned something in the trailer. But anyway, do I think the MCU is getting what slap? Because I try not to curse on this show because there are children watching at home. I don't know.
Well, I'm just talking about female dogs, so
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm trying not to curse. But as far as the MCU goes, listen, I haven't watched anything MCU related since Falcon and Winter Soldier dropped on Disney Plus, which is, by the way, # not a sponsor. So I can't really say about this, but what I can say is that this Flashpoint movie looks fan-freaking-tastic. And to see us getting a brand new iteration of Supergirl on screen, even though in the comic it was Superman, doesn't matter. It's still the House of El. It's still Krypton. It's still DC mythology. And I think this movie looks fantastic, despite the behind-the-scenes problems with Ezra Miller and all his stuff going bananas. Putting that aside, I think this film looks phenomenal. I think it's going to do gangbusters at the box office. I think it's going to be good in terms of quality. I think it's going to be good in terms of repeat value. I mean, I could be wrong because trailers have steered us wrong before. They've done it a million times in this business, but I am jacked up for Flashpoint. I cannot wait to see it. I think it looks great.
I don't have a problem with Supergirl in this any more than I have a problem with any of the others, as far as the Flashes, as far as the Batmans. Yes, Keaton, that's the reason why I'm going to be there. But one thing, because it is Flashpoint and they're talking about the Batmans and Supergirls and all that, all from the different multiverse, yeah, different worlds, different Earths, what have you, that makes it acceptable. That's okay. If they replace Batman with someone who is not Batman and not, and say we're starting a brand new thing or whatever, and that, I may have to go watch it. But it's the Batman we all know and love. It's the current Batman from the Justice League that we all know and love. I think it's going to work out really good, despite what happened with the Flash actor in
Ezra
not
Miller,
so recent months now, but
months and months ago.
I think months and months ago, and people aren't even talking about that anymore, which is kind of interesting, but it's been dealt with. So,
Yeah. Something that fascinates me, and not just so much about the Flash movie, and this is for those of you maybe just joining us. Welcome to Stupid O'Clock. Don't forget to like and share this with all of your friends. The trailer just dropped mere hours ago for the prequel to the Hunger Games and about President Snow and how President Snow became President Snow and how he was a mentor when the Hunger Games were first starting out, way back when, during Panem's early history. It's called The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I believe. And let me tell you, that 2.5 minute plus trailer looks freaking awesome, because the tail end of this trailer, they give you the Donald Sutherland line, "It's the things we love most that destroy us." Like, that was a great capper on that. If you have not seen this trailer, it only dropped a few hours ago. Watch this trailer, because I knew there were rumblings of them making a prequel to the Hunger Games, but I wasn't sure if it was going to happen or not. I mean, they said they were in pre-production and they had this and they had that. You know what I mean? Like, when you hear stuff, it doesn't mean anything unless you see an actual movie or a trailer these days. That trailer looks fantastic, and the people they got cast as these younger versions of these characters are like they have Caesar Flickman's like ancestor in this movie. They have President Snow as like a 15, 20-year-old guy like coaching these tributes in District 12. It looks fantastic. And Peter Dinklage as the creator of the Hunger Games, like, that's insane. That's insane. But the cast looks great. So if you haven't seen the trailer, look it up. Lionsgate looks like they may have another hit on their hands by revisiting the Hunger Games, because we haven't seen a Hunger Games movie in like, what, almost 10 years? 10 years, maybe almost 10 years. That's pretty insane. Looks great. Sorry, didn't mean to take up the whole room, and I didn't mean to take up the set here, Dan, but that trailer just knocked my socks off.
Hey, you're allowed to be overjoyed about stuff you would enjoy. Seriously.
Yeah, well, the Hunger Games prequel looks great, so you might want to check that out after this broadcast.
Even better, I just posted the trailer to Stupid O'Clock.
The trailer
All right.
to Stupid O'Clock?
No,
the trailer you were talking about.
Oh, you mean to the Hunger Games? I'm sorry.
Songbirds' name.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about. There's a trailer for this show. But yeah, anyway, that's.
I thought that too at first. I was like, when did you guys pull that together?
On in this trailer?
In a world of madness.
No, I'm just kidding.
The only trailer I know we have is Grillzilla. So,
Grillzilla.
Hey, don't knock it till you see it in action. This is a huge fire pit sort of trailer.
Is it though? Okay.
Oh.
Hey, we are one of the most popular podcasts in Kazakhstan.
Oh, is that true? Wow! Congratulations, big fella. I was not
and
aware.
we're one of the few allowed in Latveria too.
Latveria? And by the way, isn't that where Dr. Victor Von Doom from the Fantastic Four was?
Yeah, I don't think I want to be going there
my
anytime
point.
soon.
Was he from Latveria?
Yep, exactly my point, young man.
Aren't they rebooting that, by the way? Isn't Victor Von Doom supposed to appear in a future Fantastic Four or MCU
I believe
movie?
they're working on a Fantastic Four movie right now with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that the fan casting of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are going to be playing Reed Richards and Sue Storm?
We have no idea.
Because if they cast those two wonderful-looking people, I think that would be pretty darn good casting, especially with Emily Blunt. She can do no wrong. I mean, well, there was that one movie I saw.
Reed Richards, so.
There was that one movie I saw in the theaters, Dan. I don't know if you remember this, based off the best-selling book of the same name. But does anyone ever saw The Girl on the Train with Emily Blunt? That movie didn't work out too well for her.
I remember hearing about it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's not a very good movie. It was a disappointment, in my opinion. It had a really good cast, too. You got the very beautiful Emily Blunt. You had Luke Evans in it. And then you also had, who was the woman who was in Mission Impossible? What was her name? Rebecca Ferguson. Yeah, I think Rebecca Ferguson was in it, too. Oh, no. It wasn't Rebecca Ferguson. It was Natalie Bennett. Natalie Bennett. She was in the Magnificent Seven remake with Denzel. Yeah. She was in it, and I'm like, great cast, but it didn't work very well. Great cast, but not great execution. Do you see what I mean by that? Movies may look good on paper, but when you execute them, it doesn't look that good.
Well, there's a lot of...
Ever noticed that?
Let's say executive producer interference in things sometimes.
Studio interference, maybe?
Exactly.
Is that what it's called?
Well, that was exactly what I meant. But
okay. Studio interference is bad.
Sometimes if they just kept their fingers out of that particular pie, it would have earned them more money, but they felt like they had the meddle.
I heard the book was great, that it's based off of. I just never... the movie just didn't work out.
I remember what movie it was with Sean Connery, where it went over budget and the producers called the director in
Ooh.
And they were going to tell him all about, what you need to do to cut costs and all that sort of stuff. And Sean Connery came in with them and looked at all the producers and says, "You idiots don't know how to make a movie. This kid does. Give him his money," and walked out.
I wonder what movie that was.
Sean Connery basically told the entire studio, "You need to give this kid more money."
I wonder what movie that was.
I'm willing to bet it wasn't Zardoz.
Oh, really?
Come on, Google John, tell us what movie.
I can't remember what movie.
It wasn't the movie that he did with Richard Gere, was it? It wasn't First Night.
It might have been The Avengers, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, the one with what was her name? Uma Thurman and Rupert Everett, if I'm not mistaken.
No, one of the
was it Roger Moore? No.
No, Fiennes.
Oh, you mean Ray? You mean Joseph Fiennes? Ray Fiennes.
Ralph.
Yeah,
Fiennes.
well, he goes by Ray
Larry
Fiennes.
Fiennes.
You know, it's spelled as Ralph, but it's Ray Fiennes. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually that was a fun movie. I mean, it dipped into fan service just enough so people who watch the TV series would actually
really
have a good time. People who were totally new to it might have been lost.
I've never seen it, so I can't comment or speculate on this movie.
Oh,
well, Sean Connery was the villain, so that lets you know right there.
Okay. I mean,
but one of the
I'll check it out
interesting
one
things
day.
about it was the guy who directed it. I can't remember his name right offhand.
Yeah, who was that?
He came up with this concept of Avengers World, where basically his entire set piece looked just like the Avengers series from back in the 60s and 70s.
Really?
I mean, downtown London, no cars, nobody driving around, which is friggin' impossible because that's like the capital of the planet.
Or at least the capital of the British Empire. So,
you remember how Dick Tracy with Warren Beatty had that whole look to it?
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of things I like about that movie.
Me too.
The aesthetic is great. The aesthetic is great.
But Avengers had a similar aesthetic, but with Avengers World. That's how he termed it. Everything was Avengers World.
The same thing was done with the Spirit, and people were not familiar with the comic.
I wasn't.
For some strange reason. I mean, it's Will Eisner.
Will Eisner.
I mean, I saw the movie. I saw the movie and I liked it. I didn't love it like I loved the movie that was shot in the same format like Sin City was by Frank Miller, but it was all right.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
And The Shadow was another one in the same noir version.
But The Shadow wasn't shot in the way that Sin City was or The Spirit was, but it was still a good movie. The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, despite his nowadays
but
shortcomings.
The Shadow had people in the background.
Yeah, but The Shadow was great.
Yes.
Shadow was great. And it's funny, though, because I didn't know this until I watched the behind-the-scenes documentary. That was Ian McKellen's, his first movie.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, the guy was already, in his 50s at that point. And he's like, yeah, well, I didn't get into acting until...
Wait a minute. I got to call you on this one, Ryan. His first movie that I know of was Top Secret.
Oh, okay, that was in the... Was that in the late 80s? Was that in the 80s or early 90s?
Late 80s.
Okay, it was late 80s. Okay, so that was before The Shadow. Okay, sorry, Ian McKellen. I know you watch our show, but...
And strangely enough, he played a scientist.
Just like he did in The Shadow.
Which,
by the way, he did a good job on that performance, too. The Shadow, he had limited screen time, but for what he was given, he did a good job. I mean, he was Penelope Ann Miller's father, for Pete's sake, and Penelope Ann Miller is no slouch.
Oh, no.
There have been a lot of movies that they stuck to their guns about making the movie in this particular way to be true to the source material, and people were not familiar with the source material except for the fans, and unfortunately there weren't enough fans to make it go over the top as far as ticket sales were concerned.
Yeah, it bombed. I would have loved to have seen a sequel to both The Shadow and The Phantom with Billy Zane. I would have loved to have seen a sequel to both.
Yeah. That was the Billy Zane's Phantom was actually very well done if you were willing to think of it as a period piece.
As an adventure movie.
And Treat
Well,
Williams,
and based on
Treat
based
Williams
on the
is a
newspaper
fun
strips.
Yeah, based off Lee Falk's work. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
it was good.
Now,
I
if you
liked
were-
it. I have it. I have
If
it on
you were
DVD.
familiar with that, it worked. If you weren't familiar with that, it was kind of what?
I have the Phantom on DVD and I have the Shadow on Blu-ray. I'm not ashamed to say it. I like both films.
Do any of you read the Phantom in the Sunday comic strips?
Well, not though, but I do have some Phantom comics
I
here.
have done in the
Currently?
past, but I haven't
used to
seen an
collect
actual
Phantom
printed
comics.
newspaper in about 30 years.
I was gonna say, have printed newspapers been out for you for that long?
Yeah.
Hey,
So
I'm out in the sticks. I don't even get the Saturday Night Grand Ole Opry on the radio until Thursday afternoon.
Really? Yeah, that's a bummer.
What's
They
that?
need to give you more newspapers, brother. Man.
well, just sign up for Go Comics or one of those online apps.
Is it
Get
online?
your comics there. But Jeff Weigel is the artist and inspiration to the writers as well. But anyway, he's been doing a bang up job and that. And get ready, Dan. Get ready, Dan. Yes, he's my friend on Facebook. But Jeff is a local boy out of Champaign, Illinois. He's actually a U of I graduate too. Go Fighting Illini. But what I would love them to do a fandom movie of was one that he recently did all of the, hey Steph, of all of the past Phantoms.
Ooh.
They did a storyline about a year and a half ago that was kind of like a lot of flashback sequences to all the Phantoms of the 1700s, 1800s, so on and so forth. But it tied it all together. If they could do something like that, I mean, that would be perfect homage to that whole genre.
You know,
Oh.
I have Phantom comics that were written in the, I think it was the 80s, if not the 90s. And I know I've met the editor of this series, Robert Greenberger from Crazy 8 Press.
Yep.
And some of the stories in that particular series that they wrote or put together, it was 3 volumes, and they're released in hardcover editions. You can find them on Amazon or your local comic shop. # always support your local comic shops. And in those stories, there are a little bit of flashbacks to past Phantoms. And I thought to myself, well, in Billy Zane's movie, there were like 20 Phantoms before him. You know, there was his dad, and then there was him, and then there were like 80 other Phantoms before that. I'm like, why not go back and look at some of those other Phantoms? Why not? You got plenty of history to play with.
Yeah, really. I wanted to ask Bill if he'd ever seen the Phantom. I believe it was Phantom 2020 animated series.
Yeah.
And
that was on the 90s, I think.
Yes, it was. And the animation style was almost the same as the what was
Batman Beyond?
No, it was more
like G.I. Joe.
There was a lady assassin from I think the late Saturday night cartoon thing that they were doing. It was called Aeon Flux. It was called Aeon Flux.
Oh, Aeon Flux, yeah.
Yeah, the artwork style. The artwork style was almost identical, so you knew the same people worked on.
Liquid Television was the
Liquid Television. Thank you.
Yeah,
Liquid Television.
now they still make Phantom comics currently overseas, and it's from Frew Comics, FREW. And you'll see a lot of the old Phantoms, like, you know, this is the Phantom that everybody knows and loves with this uniform hat. Frew Comics has the Phantom in the red costume, in the blue costume. It's really wonderful, but also finding them on eBay, you're going to be paying some scratch for it. But it's worth it. If you can get them, it's worth it. If you have the money or if you run into it somewhere.
I sometimes wonder how collectors can keep up. There's so much stuff out there, and people want a pretty penny for a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the. I mean, they're going to keep doing this until it's blue in the face, or until there's not any more to do with it. But I mean, look at what Hasbro's doing with Star Wars and all the Black Series figures. I mean, those Black Series figures are everywhere, and the pops are everywhere, and some of the other toys, like the hot toys, like, dude, Star Wars has got so much, man. Like this one YouTuber I met through social media, she has like a bunch of hot toys or a few statues behind her, or a few busts, as they're called, like Ahsoka Tano and some of the other characters. And I'm thinking to myself, all that stuff is beautiful to look at, but you know in the back of your mind, this costs very much a pretty penny. You know, it's like unless
I know I'm selling them right now.
I just hot toys.
No, well, some of them I will sell the hot toys, but the Star Wars Black Series that you mentioned,
yeah,
I just listed, I think 8 or 10 of them.
Really?
I just sold the Luke Skywalker and the X-wing pilot. The X-wing pirate. Remember that in Star Wars when Luke Skywalker had the parrot on his shoulder that looked just like R2-D2?
Yes,
that?
yeah, the crossover with Captain Harlock. Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But anyway, I sold the Star Wars Black Series figure of it was actually a lot that I had with an R2-D2 because it was an X-wing pilot figure with the helmet and everything. And
you know the guys that build their own Daleks and go to conventions and ride around in them. I always wanted my own little R2 to follow me around at conventions, and have his head open up and have a beer cooler inside. But
that would be nice. You know, it's the people who build those things, and this happens a lot at Comic-Cons. They bring their droids, they bring the R2-D2s, the Stoppers, the R5-D4s, like all the people who build those. My hat's off to you, because that takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of skill. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. Every time I see him walking around conventions, I'm thinking to myself, dude, all we need is the backdrop, and then we're like on the Millennium Falcon or like the Death Star or something. Like we could have these droids with us. It's like insane. You know what I mean? Like all we need is the Battle of Yavin base, like the Rebel base, and we can have all the R2 units roaming around. I'm like, yes, we're in a Star Wars movie. You know?
Hey, come to Georgia. We already have the kudzu.
Yeah, about 6 months ago, the auction that Laura and I go to on Friday nights, they had a land speeder pedal car, a little kid's version of it.
Oh yeah,
and it was so cool. And great. I kept looking at Laura, and she's like,
"You can't buy that.
She
can't buy that."
Well,
I had one of those at one of the antique stores up here a couple months ago.
Oh yeah.
And I took a picture of it. Ted goes, "Ooh, how big is that? How much is it?" I said, "It's a kid's thing." He's like, "Never mind."
Yep.
And I don't believe this. Ever since the SPT 300 came out, they started to demand it'll be enough. Sorry, once you start mentioning Star Wars, I just drop random Star Wars lines on you, Don. I hope you don't mind.
Oh,
okay.
I was at an Anachrocon, which let you know how far back that was, because that convention no longer exists.
It's a couple hundred years.
And they actually had some fellow show up with an H.G. Wells time machine.
Say what?
From the movie, the old
50s?
The 50s movie.
No way.
And it was built on a frame for a mobility scooter, so you could actually drive it around, and the big wheel on the back spun and everything. He had it just about movie prop perfect, except it was thinner and much lighter construction, because mobility
scooter.
But
Rich is like, mobility scooter, just remember.
But it was so much fun to see that, and people went crazy taking their pictures with it, and got permission to actually cruise it around the lobby of the hotel and things like that.
It's freaking awesome.
It was.
Dan, as soon as you said big wheel on the back, I'm thinking of the little toy big wheel that you would ride with the big wheel in the front.
No, those had the
Like
big
a
wheel
time
on the
machine
front.
version of the big wheel.
The big wheel on the Showcase Showdown. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Price is
The
Right.
Wheel of Time. No, wait, no, that one's been.
Nope, that was not
been
the wheel of time,
copyrighted.
brother.
That one's been copyrighted. Sorry.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Trademarked. It's a title. It's a trademark, not a copyright.
Oh, okay.
The wheel
Look
of
at
misfortune.
Rich correcting us in the studio. See, this is why we pay Rich the non-existent big bucks. You know, this is why we keep bringing him back.
Yes, and those big bucks graze out in his yard a lot and leave little droppings for him.
Oh God! You know
That's
Dan,
why he's
awesome.
inside all the time.
Cross the street in the woods, yeah, actually.
Cross the street in the woods. Okay, I'll have to remember that
Yeah.
the next time I see you, Rich. You know, Dan,
Tiger Woods or
the Time Machine's a good old school. No offense, everybody. Good old school movie, but also the original version of War of the Worlds is a good movie too.
Which
best.
original are you?
The
you
one that's
talking
in
about
color, not the one that's in black and white.
the George Powell.
Yes, I believe
Okay.
it was 1957, 62, something like that.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one.
People keep redoing that, and they either alternate between doing it as a period piece, the way it should be done, and doing it as a modern day adaptation,
Like
which
Steven Spielberg.
it doesn't work quite as well because they can't. There's not that. H.G. Wells is one of those people who greatly
He's a great writer.
influenced steampunk, so that it does not have that old-fashioned mechanical aesthetic that Wells put into it.
Yeah.
With these
I thought-
modern day adaptations,
Mhm.
they can work. They can be very good. Usually, they're not big money makers. The ones that are period pieces that are actually set in the 1880s. Now those do quite well with a limited audience. I mean, you've got a huge fanatic fan base for that. But once again, ticket sales are not up to studio standards. So one of these days, we're going to get to see that done correctly. And it's going to be one of the things that you did not throw huge amounts of money at, so you don't have huge amounts of money to lose.
They'll reboot it.
Oh yeah, they'll reboot it.
They'll reboot the
constantly.
Time Machine. I mean, they already did it in the 2000s with Guy Pearce's version in 2002.
Oh, they did it again. In the in the late 70s?
Wasn't Guy Pearce?
With Roddy McDowell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I heard
there
about
was a TV version too, wasn't there?
Yes. It's just when you
Or a
when
made-for-TV
you-
movie or something.
when you dip that deeply into the well of old classics,
Even though
magic
they're
can happen.
even
but
though
you
they're
got to be really careful with the magic.
it's just too bad that they can't do it correctly because isn't H.G. Wells's works part of public domain?
Should be by now. His family does not pursue the copyright as vigorously as
The other
other
ones.
people from the same period. I mean, there's I shall not say, but there is a family who is convinced that they should own the copyright to their great grandfather's work longer than Disney can hold on to Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
And they want licensing for everything.
That's a big one. I haven't seen this yet because it's funny though because we watched an episode of this series during one of my film courses in college, and this was a good episode of it too. I'm just overly familiar with the series. I just know of it because they advertise it on other DVDs that I've seen. But I did another McKay's haul. Now, granted, this wasn't any Star Wars books. Sorry to disappoint the millions of people who are watching this show because I keep talking about all these Star Wars books that I've been getting recently. But I got the Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk TV series season 1 on DVD. because we watched an episode of it in my film class way back when, and I really liked that episode that we watched. It was the one where, I mean, granted, every episode's kind of the same, but he goes to a place where there's like a dam or something, and this woman almost drowns, and she rescues her, and then the government puts him in this like metal-shaped dome to capture him, and he breaks out. But I liked the episode so much, I'm like, you know what? I feel now is a good time as ever to revisit The Incredible Hulk. So I went ahead and bought season 1 on DVD at McKay's Bookstore, # not a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So I look forward to watching that, and I didn't know the first season's only 10 episodes.
Ferrigno is an ass.
In real life or in the show?
Yes,
in real life.
Oh, so he's not a person you would want to meet at a convention. Okay, I got you.
I have met him at a convention, and
it didn't turn out very well.
Me and my best friend were both almost knocked over by him, and he spilled his drink all over our back because he was so stumbling drunk. He nor his people didn't apologize. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry you experienced that, Rich. My apologies.
Now, Bill Bixby, I've got to say, was a fine actor, and he did one of the best interpretations of Banner that has ever been done by a live actor.
Okay.
Now, I think he has influenced everybody else after him that has done it. However, the 3 sequel movies that came after the Hulk series,
The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
the trial and then
the Return of the Incredible Hulk.
Return and Death. Bill Bixby is about the only good thing in it.
To go back to H.G. Wells for just a brief moment, it looks like 2016 would be 50 years after his passing. Mm-hmm. So as of January 1st, 2017, it looks like all of his stuff should be in the public domain.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
yeah,
technically, we could write
Invisible
something and make a
Man,
movie.
Whole 9 yards, yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And
you want to make a movie, Rich? We can make a time machine movie.
Oh, we could make an Invisible Man movie.
Ooh, yeah. But I don't know if anything's going to top
movie.
Yeah, but I don't know if anything's going to top the Claude Rains Invisible Man, because that was such a good movie.
Yes, it was.
Claude Rains is a beast of an actor for his time, and he was so good in that. Heck, he shows up a year later in The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr., which is another great monster movie.
And in one of the remakes of Phantom of the Opera as well.
Lon Chaney Jr. was in that?
No, Claude Rains.
Oh, Claude Rains was in the... Yes, I do have the Phantom of the Opera on Blu-ray. I have the original 8-film Universal Monsters set on Blu-ray, and yes, he was in the Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, that was a good one, too.
When are they ever going to uncover a copy from somebody's attic of London After Midnight so we can all finally see it before we die?
London
everybody...
That was a Lon Chaney Sr. movie, I do believe.
I've never heard of it. I'm not familiar with this. I know who Lon Chaney is because we watched his work in my film class.
This is
that's one of the ones. American silent mystery horror.
Really?
Yep, that's one of the ones that probably the original negatives got burned in a fire in Hollywood, and that was a great horrible thing to happen. But there are a huge number of films that were done on the cusp of going from silent to talkies that we will never see because they were done on the wrong kind of film, which turned out to be highly flammable, and there was a fire in the film vault. This is almost as bad as the BBC erasing Doctor Who episodes because, hey, we need the videotape. This stuff's expensive.
Last known copy was went up in flames in the 1965 MGM vault fire.
Yeah, well, a lot of your horror movie hosts patterned themselves after the character on London After Midnight, including my friend Rich Cause, who's Svengoolie. He started out as the son of Svengoolie, and but of course the original Svengoolie was kind of like a hippie zombie looking guy, and so Rich didn't want to do that, so he basically patterned himself after this. But yeah, this movie has to turn up sometime. People have been wanting
A lot of
see
Jack
this.
the Ripper
Are there clips of
fan
this
art.
on YouTube? Are there clips of this on YouTube that have been released?
There
I don't
may
think so.
be, but I would shudder
Because
to
I
think
feel like I've
about
seen
the
this. I feel like I've
prophecy.
seen this image
That was
before in one of my
Jekyll and
film
Hyde,
classes.
right?
Oh, you've seen it a lot. Well,
It was based on Jekyll and Hyde.
Okay, all right, then we've seen it in my film class because I remember our professor showing us stuff featuring Lon Chaney, not just Lon Chaney Jr., but obviously Lon Chaney Sr. So yeah, I think I've seen an image of that, or he showed us like footage of something like that. But now that you show it to me here, Bill, I see what you're talking. I get it now. So
Yep.
yeah, those were a big thing for their time. Absolutely, they were very influential. Was the word I wanted to say. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Very much so. And Lon Chaney Jr., bless that man's heart. He was. I loved him in Wolfman. Love that movie. So
Hey
good.
guys, I gotta go take care of a few things. Some of you might see me in a little bit, but
Okay.
Ted's working tonight, and I gotta go take care of the kids.
Aw.
The stuff he usually does, I have to go do.
Great to see you, Don. Thank
Okay.
you for being with us,
Yeah.
and thanks for being a Star Wars fan.
Oh, of course.
'Cause that
See
makes
you guys
you and I,
in a
that
bit.
makes you and I simpatico. That makes us BFFs. So congratulations.
Well, I sent you the link to Ted's my boyfriend, his Star Wars stuff. So check that out too.
Yay! I'm gonna have to check
Yeah.
that out in the DMs. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Don, and I wish you the best and enjoy the rest of your evening and enjoy your weekend.
Okay,
good
see you
night,
guys in a
Don.
bit. Bye.
See you, Don.
See you, Don. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
She is a nice person. Man, we got some of the best and nicest people on these shows, Dan. I got to tell you, we got some of the best people in the business.
Well,
Th-
except for me.
Yeah, except for you, but we spare
Yeah.
no expense. And yes, Bill.
This
I
is
can see
from
the image on your screen.
WGN's Channel 9 Creature Features that used to be on
Oh.
every Friday
Yeah.
night.
And
Back in the
Carl
70s.
Carl's right. There is a great resemblance to the title character in Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is
Yep.
a weird.
Dr.
Absolutely,
Caligari.
it's
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised that if you have not seen that in your film class, I am very surprised.
No, we
because-
saw a clip of it, but we didn't like watch the full length of the feature. So
Oh yeah, and it was not only the characters,
it was
but the sets were very Art
ominous.
Nouveau as well.
Okay, because we watched
and,
Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and the other one which was Nosferatu. So
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
that was
Yeah.
another one. That was another one.
Now
Wonderful.
that was one that Bram Stoker's widow wanted totally destroyed, so nobody could ever
Really?
see that. Yeah,
Ooh.
evidently she set people out to buy up every copy of it that had been printed for distribution and had
That's
them
crazy.
burned. But
Uh,
There's
some of them
London
survived.
there is 18 minutes that
Of
had
London After
survived. This is on YouTube.
Yay.
Surviving film. So I will post this in the Stupid O'Clock Facebook group.
Just like
and
everything
that
else
for
has been
people to
posted
watch.
in that wonderful group page. Isn't it such a great group page? We get to share all these wonderful links with each other. Isn't it wonderful?
Well, the thing you've got to remember about silent movies is that everybody had to overact because all their dialogue was on title cards.
On title, that's right. Yeah,
Mhm.
there was a big difference. Big difference.
They had to emote everything, yeah.
Oh, they had to do that. Yeah.
And there was one silent movie about I believe it was Ivan the Terrible that
Oh
was
yeah.
used. It was used as research by Peter Weller when he was developing the way he was going to play the character RoboCop.
No way. He used that. Oh my gosh.
Because he just had his mouth and nose revealed, no eyes for expression,
All he had
just the
was
body
mouth.
language, and he actually went and studied this silent movie so that he could learn the overacting, over gesturing, over dramatic way to play a character that has no way to
Emote.
emote
You know,
properly.
Two things come to my mind with that. One, I did a rewatch of the OG RoboCop a few weeks ago. Good movie, holds up. Peter Weller kills it in that role. And by the way, the whole Prime Directive scene, and then when he's displaying his gunmanship in the shooting range, and everyone's wondering what is this new invention that OCP's come up with? Like, what is going on? Everyone's confused. And then he says, "What are your prime directives? Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law." I'm like, yes, that is just straight, man. I love it. And the other thing is, and I recently had a new observation about this. You know how people's feelings change about a movie after they've taken some time away from it and then they revisit it years later? Well, I did a revisit of a movie that's similar to RoboCop. You may have heard of it. It's called Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Okay? And I was watching the theatrical cut. I know there's multiple cuts of the movie out there on Blu-ray and physical media, but I watched a theatrical cut of James Cameron's Terminator 2: Judgment Day, and I realized something throughout this movie. At the end of the movie, I thought, this is a good action film, but there's little pieces of story, but it's not. I don't feel like it's as important as the action sequences are. I feel like it's more of an action set piece than a story-based film, because to me,
I can see that.
Every scene in Terminator 2 is just a setup for the next big action sequence rather than actually going deeper into the story. Like, yeah,
this is cool. This is cool. This is cool.
Yeah.
How do you make them relevant to each other?
That's
what I mean?
what happens to most slasher movies.
Because
even though, like, Friday the 13th started out as a legit story, in the late 70s, and that look what it's ended up.
I listen, I remember growing up, because I did everything in reverse, right? I watched all these movies out of order. So I remember watching Terminator 2 over and over again as a kid. And then years later, I finally went ahead and saw the actual original 1984 film. And comparing the two, I'm thinking to myself, the second film is just an action movie, really. There's really no story. And also with them saying, they actually sent 2 Terminators back in time to kill John, where in the first movie, they never said that. In the first movie, they say they sent 2 people back in time, one to kill Sarah, and then the other then someone is going to be sent in to protect her, right? That was a simple story, but it was a sci-fi horror movie. The first Terminator. I'm talking about 1984's Terminator. Yeah. That movie is perfect. Whereas the second movie, I'm like, this is just an action movie, dude. There's like no story. There's barely any story here. And when there is story beats in it, they kind of rush it. They don't let it build and build, and they don't let it simmer for too long. You know what I mean? Because they focus on the next one-liner from Arnold and the next set piece, whereas the first film is a story. The first film is a story, and and the action is a big deal with it, but it was a shoestring limited budget.
If you find the novelization for Terminator 2, it's much better than the actual film. I actually read the novelization first, and it explains the timing. They didn't realize another Terminator was sent back until after Reese went.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thanks for bringing that up, Rich. Yes, thank you, producers. We were 2 minutes late on that. 3 minutes, actually. But yes, that is a good point, Rich. But yeah, to me, this is a reason why the first Terminator is my favorite of the franchise. That movie is just so perfect and tells a story. The second film, an action film.
One of the other things I read about the original Terminator is a lot of it was shot commando style. Mm-hmm. They didn't have licenses or any.
They didn't have the budget, or they didn't have permits.
Yeah.
It was great. That's what makes the movie so good. You know what?
And that was done with the old TV series I Spy.
Of course, they'd be Commando.
Yeah, they didn't have permits. They didn't have permits to film the TV series I Spy back in the day, in all the foreign locations they use. So they just went at it and go, "Hey, if we get caught, somebody will cover the bail."
In the behind the scenes documentary, the original Terminator movie, they said that the last sequence where Sarah crushes the Terminator in the factory, the smoke that comes out when the Terminator dies was someone blowing a cigarette smoke at it to make it look like it was actual, like, legit smoke. And then when they buried where they took Kyle Reese out of the factory in that body bag, it wasn't a body bag. It was like a suitcase that someone had brought on set to put him in. And I'm just like, you fooled me, because it looked like a body bag. And then at the very end, when Sarah's driving off into the storm, when she passes through that, what is it, the gas station at the very end? that whole scene, the cops were going to arrest them because they didn't have a permit. But one of the younger members of the crew said, "Oh, this is my dad. My dad's helping me film my film school project. We're just going to finish up here in like 10, 15 minutes. We promise." And the cops let him go, and they filmed that last shot without a permit. Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing what you can get away with if you just bullshit your way through.
It was great. I love the Terminator 1984 is perfect. Terminator 2 is a good film, but it's not a great film in my opinion. It's not a great film. Hot takes, everybody. Hot takes to wrap up your show.
Yeah, we've got like 5 minutes left. If there's any plugs anybody wants to do right now, let's get them done real quick.
Now I'm thinking of hotcakes. I'm hungry.
I'll do a quick plug here, Dan, if you want me to.
Sure.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me. It was great to see each and every single one of you. Rich, coming in with those history lessons. I love that. I respect that about you, Rich. That's why we keep bringing you back, brother. Dan, everybody, great seeing you. But as far as I'm concerned, check us out next week, because next week is going to be busy times 1,000. Monday night, May the 1st, 8 p.m. EST, we're celebrating, Iron Man's 15th anniversary. May 2nd on Tuesday, we're celebrating X-Men 2's 20th anniversary at 8 p.m. EST. And then on Thursday, we got our Star Wars Day celebration. On Wednesday, we got another episode of
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah. Exactly. May the 4th be with you at 8 p.m. EST on our YouTube channel. So,
and also remember Revenge of the 6th.
Yes. There's Revenge of the 5th and there's Revenge of the 6th. Yes. Thank you, Rich. Coming in clutch at the very end with that 3-point shot. But in the meantime, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Check us out at Nerd Culture Channel on YouTube, because we got a boatload, or should I say a truckload, of content coming for you next week. Each day of that week, we have something dropping every night at 8 p.m. EST, and it's live too, so you get to interact with us in the chat. Be there or be square. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Manamana.
And Joe, if you don't mind plugging Independent Creators Directory and Burning is Love and Behind the Code.
I'll try and make this very quick. Independent Creators Directory is indiecd.org. It's a place that I'm setting up for people to be able to have all their links hosted to their various works. Right now it is only $10 for a lifetime membership. It will be going up to $20 in June. I am also working on setting up a separate social media site that people will be able to use. And what I've been doing for this whole show is actually trying to set up a server that will allow people to stream to it, just like with YouTube and all that, and trying to figure out how to do it through StreamYard. Behind the Code is most Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, where I'm generally doing indiecd.org updates. The Burning is Love is most Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, where you get to see me do my various wood burning projects.
For myself, I show up on Michaela Jade's Tidbits and Scribbles every other week. I am here every week, twice a week. Quiver with fear, you tiny fools. Bill, you got anything?
Oh, got a bad case. Oh, you mean, okay. Yeah, well, go over to the artwork of Bill Sarton, and you'll see all kinds of crap from me over there. Also, if you haven't yet, why not go over and join the Every Day is Saturday Facebook group, where I show the best cartoons in the whole wide world. And you'll never know what comes up, because I am finding stuff every day. And I'm like, oh God, am I going to get in trouble for posting this? Hell yes, but I'm going to do it anyway. So anyway, but other than that, and then buy crap from my eBay store. Better Days from you, or I forget what the name of it is now. I'll tell you next time.
Okay. Richie, you got anything to plug?
I got a store. I forgot what the name of it is. Okay.
I don't know what. Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like a Cheech and Chong selling marijuana store. Right?
Oh,
We got a store, man.
Okay. I'll go ahead and store name. Here you go. It's called Better Days Vintage Collectibles. There,
Yay.
you made me do it.
Yes, we
Crying
did.
out loud.
Yes, yes. And now
Guess
it
what
is.
time it is?
It's time for us to touch the face of God.
Yes. Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Via con Dios, amigos.
Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, when never lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand, and touched the face of God.
Did not get away with it. Fuck, 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 fuck.